Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Matt, and this is Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit, your beacon of freedom and the American way of life. Tune in every Friday for a new episode as we dive into the world of liberty and what makes our country great. All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to LLP. This is Eric and Matt here, and we've had a great week. I hope everyone's had a wonderful week, and thanks for tuning back in. And we've got a doozy of an episode today. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. We do have a special guest here today, JC from Brass Bandicoot. Make sure you go check him out.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, tell them about all your particulars so they can find you.
Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, which they hate me, but we've said before, that's pretty normal. I don't post much on there. YouTube would be a big support. It would help us grow. It would help us be able to push forward and make better content. But as far as being able to see what I'm doing and to be able to see what we're moving forward towards, Instagram would be the easiest place to find us, in which case you can just look up Brass Bandicoot, or if you want to look up on other places, Brass Bandicoot Media, you will find me for sure.
Outstanding. So we are going to break into this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be discussing everyone's top 5 gun picks if you could only have 5 guns. Now, Chad and I, when it comes to like gun gripes and some of the other episodic content that we've done, we've hinted upon the idea of doing this video, and we probably will still make a top 5 guns video. Chad and I will on this very subject. But I figure since we had a guest, it would be a lot of fun to get a little bit of a difference of opinion and see if we all kind of line up on what we would choose. Now, of course, just like the rules on the YouTube channel, the top 5, the way this kind of works is there's always a wild card. So there's actually going to be 6 guns. So there's a bonus gun that you can choose for any reason. And then the other thing about 5 guns is it's meant to be satire. It's meant to be just fun. Obviously, we can have a lot more than 5 guns. We're not limited to 5 guns. But what if you were? What if you could only have 5? Which ones would you choose and why? And what's your reasoning for it? So this would be kind of cool to talk about. Before we get too far in today's podcast, I'd like to thank our friends at RMA Body Armor for supporting our podcast and our YouTube videos. They got some great American-made armor. You can use the code IV8888 and save yourself 10% off, which is always great to get a discount. Right now, there's some shortages going on with armor. They've actually suspended some of the dealer accounts. So if you go direct to their website and use our code, you can get 10% off and get some very difficult to find armor. And check them out. Tell them we sent you and use the code IV8888. What was that website again? You had it written down?
RMAdefense.com.
Defense, right. Yep. Defense. RMAdefense.com. So we're going to go down the rabbit hole here, and Matt, why don't you start us off? What would be, all right, so what would fill the number 1 slot? And just to reiterate, these are not in any type of particular order, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in order of importance. This is just simply a list. So What would number 1 be?
Like you said, it's meant to be satire. I wouldn't treat it like obviously that we can all have more than 5 guns. Yeah. I treat it like the first choice for that particular genre of weapon. So if it's like, I'm going to say, if I'm going to have a rifle, this would be it. I can obviously have more than 5 rifles, but this would be the very first choice of that particular style of weapon. So before I even go into it, we have to find out which category are we going for. Are we doing are we choosing handguns? Are we choosing rifles? Are we choosing... Because the way I break it down, you got to have at least one of each, right?
Agreed.
So,
it can be any guns you want for any reason. There literally are no categories. This is strictly whatever the heck you want it to be. It could be 5 of the same gun. It could be whatever you want. Pistol, rifle, shotgun, machine gun, whatever. Anything.
I'm gonna take it easy. I'm going to go with a classic Ruger 1022, and the reason I chose that is because you can get that integrally suppressed barrel on it, and it is so quiet, and you hear the bolt move, and that's it. Even with supers, it's not loud at all, and they're inexpensive. They're reliable. They don't have a ton of different moving parts on them. Nothing on it is super proprietary like you see on some of the other rifles. And it's just an all around good rifle that ammo is cheap still, even right now in the day and age of 60 cents per round. You can still buy a ton of ammo, like a brick of ammo, for a relatively inexpensive price. So that would be my first choice, and just a all-in-one gun.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great choice. You cannot go wrong with a rimfire. I mean, that can fill a survival role, or a backpack rifle role, or a truck gun or something.
I mean, you're not walking out.
Game.
Yeah, you're not walking around the Alaskan bush with that thing. But I live in Atlanta, and for what I'm going to encounter here, it's 100% solution. It will solve 100% of my problems if that was the only one that I had.
Awesome. All right, so JC, number one, what's your choice?
I would say that's a very comfortable choice. I learned how to shoot on a Ruger 1022, so that's a very comfortable choice. For me, it kind of goes into the same ballpark. I would personally have to have some type of either a 14.5-inch or 16-inch AR platform of some sort. And I would want to have a CMMG 22 conversion bolt with me. It's very apparent and funny that I'm wearing the shirt, not intended. But it's something that, same as what Matt's talking about over here. You want something that is easily able to find. As far as your price goes, you're not going to be too upset about a 22. And if you're running a 223 5.56 can on an AR-15 setup, you switch over to that conversion bolt, it's just going to be that much quieter. Mm-hmm. So quiet. And that's a package that you can easily carry on yourself or in your pack and it not weigh you down too much. You could still have a couple other weapons on you, with you, and still run that setup.
No, I agree. That's a great choice.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that since you guys have settled in on this 22 bore thing, I guess I should weigh in the same way. And I have to say, a 20-inch AR, like an SPR DMR style, I like the long barrels on ARs, but like a 5.56 A1 through a 20-inch barrel, a good quality suppressor, a flow-through can like one of the OSS suppressors. I can never say that freaking word. What is the other? Huxworks. I'm sorry. I could not remember the name of that company. So Huxworks and OSS kind of like somewhat intertwined in terms of some of the branding and the products and everything.
Okay.
But the point I was trying to make, I really like the Huxworks flow-through cans and everything like that. They're really nice. So that in combination with a 22 conversion kit would be a fantastic type of a setup. And you're getting full velocity out of M855 and M855A1. You're getting good accuracy out of a good quality barrel. And then if you do need to shoot 22, it's going to be real quiet because you've got all of that barrel length. But then again, I guess it could make, some of the hotter 22 rounds crack a little bit coming out of the can. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't run. I would imagine even out of a 20-inch barrel, you can probably still get away with subs on that without having an issue.
Yep.
You can always.
I think it's a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said A1, were you referring to the AR like model A1 or the ammo A1?
The ammo. Yeah.
Okay.
The Alpha one.
That's when you said, I was like, I was like, that's an interesting choice for
That's a hot round.
I was like, that's
a hot round. It'll get through some really nasty armor. I mean, it's a good round.
Oh yeah.
And I really do like the 62 grain bonded bear claw FBI load from Federal too, which sadly has been, I believe, out of production for a considerable amount of time. But the FBI specifically requested that 62 grain bullet. They really liked it because, I mean, against people that aren't wearing body armor, like I guess they do a lot of drug interdiction or they're going in and out of houses and things, whatever the case may be. But I guess shooting people that don't have body armor on, it's fantastic for that. Mm-hmm. But that was an FBI request for that particular load.
Interesting.
And I came into a couple of thousand rounds of it a few years ago. It's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very
neat
nice.
ammo.
Good find.
All right, so number 2, Matt. I guess we're going to go right back around.
Boy.
So let's keep the
all right.
going.
So I did the 1022. Like that's kind of like your all-in-one gun, where it's like, hey, if I needed to kill small game, or you could take two-legged game as well. I mean, you just have to shot placement is key. My second choice would definitely be a handgun. And there's the practical side of me that says, yes, I know what I should get and I know what I should carry. But then there's the cool factor. So I'm going to go with the Chiappa Rhino
Ooh.
with a 4.5-inch barrel. And not only that, I'm going to go with like the rainbow sparkle scheme where it's
Wait a minute. Which caliber?
I almost bought one of those.
you know, probably 357. If I'm gonna go, let's do a 3, because I mean then you get the added modularity of being able to do 357. And well, I don't know. I'm not.
38.
I wasn't sure if that particular model took both, because some of them don't, but you do get the added modularity of doing like the 38, plus P or something like that. But
Those
it just
rhinos
has,
are cool.
Yeah,
They are cool.
But it's
Pretty
just,
accurate, too.
It just
They
has
are.
like that. I mean, I hope they don't break on you, because like it might be a mousetrap when you open it up with all like the internal parts.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
point.
But it is a really cool gun.
I mean, the one thing about a Smith & Wesson revolver is they're super easy to take care of. I mean, you can disassemble them, all the way down, and they're not a problem at all. I've never really had a major issue. But I do like the Rhinos. It's a great revolver.
And they look cool, and especially you have the little rainbow titanium nitride, paint scheme where it's like chameleon. I love it. And it just looks cool, man. You can't beat it. Imagine getting, capped with a Chiappa
I was
Rhino.
about to say, especially with that paint scheme.
It is the
you gotta
only
have,
revolver you're going to have, right? So it might
Yes.
as well be a cool one.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sitting here wondering. I'm just picturing in my head a Mark Novak special of putting a suppressor on a Chiappa. That would be pretty sick. If anyone can do it, that man can do it.
I mean, that's a very cool project. Matter of fact, we should hit up Mark Novak and be like, we need to make this happen.
Well, like that Nagant gas seal revolver you can suppress because, especially with the correct ammunition, the gas seal ammo, it'll suppress no problem. It's real quiet.
I like that Matiba too.
Yeah.
That old school Matiba.
It's the same kind of vibe as that that Rhino.
It's like the original Chiappa Rhino. That's basically what Chiappa modeled it after, except it doesn't have the
Matiba was a semi-auto,
one of
though.
those.
Yeah.
A semi-auto revolver.
Semi-auto revolver. So it actually cycled on like a slide. It was a revolver that cycled with the slide.
What in
Yeah,
the...
it was really cool, man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to look something up after this. Okay.
Very few of them. They're unobtainium, apparently.
So
All right, your number 2.
My
Jason.
number 2 would have to be, if I absolutely had to pick, it would be my Glock. My Glock 17, my Gucci Glock, because of the simple fact that I feel very confident with that gun. I haven't shot it in 2 weeks, and right now I guarantee you if I went out to my truck and was trying to shoot at, say, a 6-inch steel target at 100 yards, I could hit it. So that, and obviously, so if it wasn't a Glock 17 platform, I know that I've got a Glock 22 that you can, I don't know if you can go up from a 17, but I know because a 22 has a little bit bigger of a bore on the slide, you can swap out a 9mm barrel. So you can go from like 40, 45 down to a 9mm.
Oh, that's cool.
So on the same slide. So you can literally just swap the mag right back out. Everything's interchangeable. So Glock.
Well, why wasn't that
number
your
2.
first choice? I mean, that seems so much more practical.
Well, because
I think we were kind of taking your lead a bit.
First choice is primary. Secondary is
that was
handgun.
satire because I chose a Chiappa Rhino, and I'm asking him why he didn't go with the more practical one. Okay,
That's right.
No,
All right.
so yeah, if it would be my personal Gucci Glock, because I feel very, very confident with it, and I know that if something were to go wrong with it, I could very easily replace the parts. Even if the red dot were to break on it, I could just pop it off. I could go back to my irons.
If you like it, you like it.
I mean,
and it's hard to kill. It's hard to beat. It's tried and true, man.
Excellent choice.
It's proved
couldn't
itself.
you just take some nail polish and like put a red dot on the glass so that way
probably
it's like
could.
it's like a always on.
Yeah,
red
I could
dot.
just
I mean,
mind over matter at that point.
We're gonna have to test that and see if that works.
We can give it a shot. What's the worst that
But
can happen?
it couldn't be
on there.
parallax free because then you got to think
Well,
about you go
yeah,
to move it.
You just have
it's-
to
it's gonna be in a
compensate for
different
it. You just have to
spot.
compensate for the parallax.
Yeah, you
That's
just
all.
have to be good.
All right, so my number 2, I'm going to go with the SIG M17.
I knew you were gonna
with
do that.
with a
Yeah.
I had a
bonus
feeling.
choice. A bonus round would be having the Flux
Flux.
chassis.
All right,
knew it.
so that's
I
where I'm
knew
going
it.
on 3. Okay,
knew
yeah,
it.
that's where I'm going on 3.
We
I
know-
mean, I
we know
love the
you.
M17, and at first it took me a little while to kind of take a liking to it, but I really do like the M17, the M18. I like the P320 series of pistols a lot, And the flux rater definitely changes everything. I mean, that's literally the name of our video, that this changes everything. It's true, because it does. It's a really cool concept. And, there's a lot of folks in the military that are running Ben's flux, chassis, which speaks volumes to the effectiveness of it. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Will, who does a lot of marksmanship training for the military, and he was telling me the other day that they were out in military range shooting targets 250 yards away with their flux rater.
I believe it.
With a SIG Legion in it instead of the standard M17 service pistol, which isn't mine. And even mine with the standard pistol is still really accurate. I mean,
I can see 100, 150.
I mean, those Legions are really good, man.
Yeah, they got great triggers too.
Yeah.
All right, so number 3. You're going to go ahead and start us off on number 3 on the next time around.
So I did the 1022, I did the Chiappa Rhino. We're going to head in an opposite direction, and I'm going to go with a Fight Light MCR, belt fed, nutsack, full auto, and we're just going to be done with it, because there is no problem that you're going to run into that 100 rounds isn't going to solve.
Number 5 is going to be there for me.
Wow, man.
And I mean, yes, they are. They were expensive before everything got out of hand, but right now, I mean, good luck. I mean, I've seen kits ranging anywhere between like $3,000 to $5,000. The only problem that I foresee with that is that every single part on there is proprietary, and yes, eventually it's going to break, but man, you are going to have an absolute blast until that point happens.
I think the only parts it shares with any other, so I think it uses M16 extractor
and a BCG. Yeah, I use the full auto BCG,
and I think it uses their bolt as well out of standard AR. But I take that back. The bolt itself is different, but I want to say it takes standard M16 extractors, and I know like the buffer and spring is out of a standard M4 because the lower is still, an M4 lower. And of course, all of your trigger components that are in the lower you use on the MCR are still going to be all the normal stuff. So you can still play around with a few Gucci components on the lower if you want. You do have to have their special bolt catch because the receiver is super fat. And a standard bolt catch, you either have to cut the top of a standard one off or install it's like a special extended maritime bolt catch that allows it to clear the receiver. Yeah, but that's about the only thing you got to change.
Dude, I fell in love with that thing after you let me shoot it, and whoo-wee.
It's a sweet piece of gear, and mine's held up great. I can't say I've had any issues, and unlike the saw, right, the Fight Light will work really, really nice off of mags, whereby remember the saws, if you ever tried to shoot those things off of a regular Stanag mag, they just don't run for crap.
Nope, they absolutely won't.
And they're not easy to load and unload. It's just a pain in the butt.
You and me both have experienced the unreliability issues of saws, and I mean, we've talked about this in depth, and me and Eric both agree, we wouldn't carry that thing into battle. We just won't. We refuse.
I like the 240 Bravo.
I dismounted
It's a
the 240,
much better machine gun than the 249 for sure.
It's much easier to work on, quite honestly. Like the manual of arms is easier on a 240.
Milled receivers, much higher quality. Yep. Just the stampings they use on the saw. I mean, and FN still produces a semi-auto saw that civilians can buy. It's a closed bolt, and Tim Harmson has one, and he likes it.
I did not know that.
I don't think he's ever had an issue out of it. Which I would imagine for an $8,000 or $9,000 rig, it better work, right?
Yeah, that 249S.
I don't know how easy they are to convert for like SOTs and stuff like that. I thought about picking up a closed bolt saw and then converting it and then comparing it to the Fight Light and making a video about that, but I just wasn't sure how available the components were to swap them, if it was even able to do it.
It will never run as good as that Fight Light. That Fight Light ran like a freaking sewing machine, man. It was like with a can on it. So even with the can, even with the belt,
I've got a 12-inch barrel on it now.
Yeah, it never stopped.
Yeah,
never stopped. We ran that belt and it sung. I loved it. Love it first shot.
Number 3 for you, JC.
Well, I was going to go with a Glock kit of types, but since you went with the Raider, I want to change it up just a little bit here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say, in the interest of punching a hole in something and still staying quiet, an integrally. That's a word for me. You had one earlier. An integrally suppressed 308 bolt action. Just keep it real simple. It's going to put down whatever you're pointing it at. And I don't know how many I've shot, especially, let me try to think. what was it? Black Hole Subsonics, I believe, was the name. Bernard's cans, those integrally suppressed barrels that he was doing. That was some of the quietest 308 shooting I've ever done in my life. I mean, you could hear the action of the gun louder than the round, and that's a pretty big round to be suppressing so well.
His loads are loaded just right too.
Oh,
to
I'm
make it that
sure
quiet.
I'm sure they are.
But Bernard makes all his own ammo.
Even
too.
regardless, I mean, you're still. It would have to be that, or it would have to be like a very good suppressed 300 black. I mean, something that's going to be able to take down a hog or something pretty big, and do it quietly and very effectively. And I would say a bolt action would probably be the best. And I got to at least throw one bolt action into the mix.
And it'll run. Anything you can put in it too. So
yes.
It's not going to be as ammo picky as
exactly.
Which most modern semi-autos are pretty forgiving for the most part.
And not to mention, let me just kind of for a real quick second, those specifically, I would say like something like one of those newer the Owl, I believe is what it's called. It's a smaller platform 308. It's probably this big of a rifle with a folding stock chassis, and then you've got your can off the end, so that you could fit that in a backpack type setup pretty easily while still carrying another rifle.
Right on.
So,
all right. So my number 3 choice is going to be, I'm going to choose the FN self-loading police shotgun.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah, it is.
I was really trying to figure out, well, maybe my Benelli M4. But really, I feel like I shoot the FN a little better, and I can run it fast, and it cycles so ridiculously quick. I've never outran it. In terms of the fastest splits that I've ever shot on a shotgun, I accomplished with that particular shotgun. I didn't time the exact splits, but of course we've got the video, so we could time the video and know. I mean, we have a time hack on the video. I can figure out the precise splits just by doing the math. But it's a great shotgun. And it cycles a wide variety of different ammunition. It cycles fast and reliably. It works. The choke, I think it's just a cylinder bore on that one, so no chokes to mess with. It's got great ghost ring sights. The only thing that I've complained about just a bit on that particular gun, I'm not a big fan of the pistol grip stock on that particular one. It's got some really gnarly grip texture, but the stock itself, it's got a nice, like cheek piece on it that's kind of padded, which is cool. And then it's got, a decent butt pad on it in terms of the recoil pad. I think I'm going to try to find just a regular, like, speed feed stock or something to put on that particular gun. And I think that would bring that right on home where it needs to be. I've always been a fan of pistol grips on my shotguns. I mean, my Benelli M4, my M3, my M2, all of those Benellis that I purchased, I went out of my way to get the pistol grips. And I think, on hindsight, looking back, I might have made a slightly different decision because I've realized in a tactical situation that the pistol grip can be a slight bit of a liability in terms of trying to quickly manipulate the gun and have the pistol grip in the way. That's one of the biggest, downsides to having a pistol grip in the rear on a shotgun. Mm-hmm. So knowing that now, I might have set it up a little bit differently, but I am probably going to just get a regular, like, classic stock or like a 3-gun type stock for that particular gun, and I think that'll get it right where it needs to be. But if you've never shot one, like the FN SLP is such a great shotgun, and they run clean, and you can shoot them for a long time without cleaning them. I bet mine's probably had, at this point, maybe 1,800 rounds put through it, and it took quite a while to start getting skanky, and then and it started running a little sluggish, and I was like, well, I guess it's time to clean it,
I'm glad you came to that conclusion on the pistol grip, because I was preaching that a long time ago, because I specifically bought my M4 with the field stock because I was like trying to reload with the pistol grip. It's almost impossible. You're gonna have to take your hand off the fire controls anyways. But if you have it, just flip it over, and you can. Either if you're proficient at double or quad loading,
even if you're
great, but it just makes it simpler just to.
Well, I think the reason I bought my M4 in the configuration I did because it had the collapsible stock and it had the LE 8-shot tube on it. So for me, I think I just wanted it for my own, like just because it's a rare and collectible shotgun, not as much as it is like. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's an awesome piece of kit. I love my M4. It's a great shotgun.
To be fair.
But I think I would really prefer the FN SLP over it, especially in terms of how fast it cycles.
Well, the configuration that I know that you're talking about, like the skeleton stock on the M4. Those, what a lot of people don't understand is those had a specific purpose, and that was to breach. And that was the reason they had the pistol grip on there. So that way you can actually jam the barrel right into the door, like what you're breaching. And you're not holding on to a stock. You're like pushing into it with the pistol grip, and then boom, you breach, you get out of the way. But it was never intended for you to actually enter the room with it. You're just supposed to sling it, and then you actually switch to your M4, and then you're going in. But it looks cool. It looks really cool.
Well, and that stock gets nice and short to accommodate body armor.
Yep.
That body armor usually adds a lot of thickness.
Yeah.
So having it nice and tight, when you go to shoulder it, it feels more normal because it's making up for the difference in the thickness of the body armor.
And that's what you see when you see a lot of like GWAT guys that are shooting. They naturally hold the rifle a little bit different because we're used to having to hold it up higher to clear the body armor, because those older vests, they didn't have the cutouts. Like that vest went all the way out to the edge of the shoulders. So we naturally had to hold the rifle up a little bit higher to clear that body armor. And that just became like a muscle memory thing. So even when you're not in armor and you're shooting, it's like you're holding that buttstock up a little bit higher to where it's like not really seated in the pocket. And you just can't do that with body armor.
And that's hard to articulate to a young soldier, that or especially someone who's never shot their whole life, and you're trying to explain that to them and understand that you got to have some contact with the rifle to be able to really shoot it accurately and everything. So, all right. So I guess that comes to number 4 is our next one, right? So we're on to number 4.
Yep.
What you thinking?
You know, I can't have a list of 5 without having an AR platform rifle. Now, I will say that I would prefer to have a pistol AR, because
With a brace.
with a brace, yeah, that'd be kind of wonky with just having the tube out there, like, but having a pistol AR with a brace, because a lot of people have the misconception that you can't put in medium distance work with a pistol AR.
You definitely can.
And I mean, unless you're going out past like 200, I would say, yeah, you might run into some issues there with velocities, without having that full length, like say 18-inch barrel or anything. But from anywhere between 1 foot and 200 feet, you're good. And I just don't foresee myself being in a situation, because these are the top 5 for me, not like top 5 for everybody. I don't see myself putting in work past 200 yards, without being close to some other weapon that can do the job better, like a Fight Light MCR, where I'm just going to light you up at 300, 400 yards with that thing. I mean, I think that it's an all-encompassing solution for what I need. So 1 foot to 200 feet, pistol AR with a brace.
And those two guns are really, meant to fill very different roles, right? Like a pistol length AR would be great for entry, or for a truck gun, or for maneuvering in tight spaces or something like that. Whereby, let's say a Fight Light with even an 18-inch barrel, like mine has a 10.5-inch barrel, or I'm sorry, 12-inch barrel. But instead of that type of configuration, run it with full velocity, run it with a 20-inch barrel for that matter, and get good velocity, maybe with a suppressor, and be able to really get some good work in at long range with a worthy load. I mean,
even at 12-inch barrel, and you see troops in the open at 400, 500 yards.
Oh yeah,
it's over.
You can shoot that far. Absolutely, a 12.5-inch barrel can do good work out to very good distances. I mean, you're going to lose a bit of steam in the 5.56 because it really does need that barrel length to get good velocities to really have the carrying energy at longer range. And even at longer ranges, it leaves a bit to be desired by many standards, especially if the potential foe is wearing body armor, which of course there's a lot of things like SIG's new machine gun that they're messing around with.
The 277 Fury, right?
Thing's cool, man.
Yeah, man.
So there's a lot of changes in small arms development and things that they've been fixing up. But yeah, I think a solid AR in a pistol form is a very comfortable to use and easy to transport setup for sure.
And before we move on to mine, I want to say that's why I said something about a 14.5-inch. Because when I said about the CMMG conversion kit, I don't just mean like a dedicated 22 AR running around. I mean the ability to be able to go from 223 5.56 in a 14.5-inch or 16-inch platform down to a 22. So on everything you said, agreed.
Yep.
And that's why I want to bring in that one. But so for my next one, it would have to be kind of like what you're talking about. I would say a Mossberg 500 shotgun. Let's
Can't kill them.
Yeah, classic, man.
No, you can't. I've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them, and my oldest, most beat up one is the best running one I have. You can air rack that thing. It's so loose.
Is it one of the old Crown Grade guns?
It's one of the old. It's the Mossberg Deluxe. It's the Mossberg 500 Deluxe. It's wood grain, but it's got a polished bolt in it.
That's a Crown Grade gun.
I got it for $100 at the pawn shop.
Wow, those are cool, man.
100. Did real good on that one. So the there's the one that comes with an extended tube, and it's the 8+1 capacity Mossberg 500 with the barrel cooler on top. It's very, very common. That was the first shotgun that I ever bought with my own money. I have 2 of them that are almost identical to this day, and I would say that would have to be that number for me for sure.
Excellent choice.
Yes.
The
Can't
nice
go wrong
thing about a
with it.
pump action compared to my FN SLP, to be fair, and just to compare and contrast, is that pump actions you can, they're not going to be nearly as ammo sensitive as a semi.
Mm-hmm.
And you can throw a wide variety of different less than lethal loads down, anything you want. You can candy cane it up, add, the kitchen sink or bolo rounds or dragon's breath or any type of random thing you want to put through it. I mean, it just gives you this universal sewer pipe to throw things down, which is kind of cool. And that's one of the nice things about a pump is that you can just throw whatever the heck you want into it. And that probably puts it as being a little bit more practical than my choice, whereby my choice, if I break apart, there's a lot of things that can go wrong on a semi-auto that are tiny little things that can keep it from working in the long term, whereby a pump gun, the only reason that more pump guns break is because they're more common and more people use them and they get used more often.
They get abused.
But
very heavily.
there are some tiny issues that pump action shotguns can have in time. On that particular gun, the extractor springs can wear out with enough use, which is not that big of a deal. The safety detents on Mossbergs are kind of bad about going out over time, and they can fall out from time to time. But if you get one of the 500s that's got the hardened alloy trigger guard assembly, some of the cheaper Mossbergs or like the Maverick 88s that have the polymer guards, they can break with a bit of jostling, not very much jostling. You'd be pretty surprised. But I do love Mossberg shotguns. I feel like they represent a fantastic value. They're rugged, they're reliable, and generally with a bit of care and attention, they'll last a pretty dang long time.
I've beat mine up pretty well. And one of the ones that I'm talking about, I've had it since I was, literally 18 years old. I bought it, right, probably on my 18th birthday or within a few days of.
Yeah.
I still have it. It's on my wall at home. I beat the ever-loving crap out of that gun. So, and it handles it. So.
Great choice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to choose the Scar 17.
Ooh.
All right, I got a Scar 17, and I've got my suppressor on there. I've got a Elcan DR Spectre on mine. I believe that's a 1.5 to 8 power optic with the little prism like magnifier. You just flip it back and forth, so it's instant 1.5 or instant 8,
6,
which is cool. It's got the BDC reticle in there for M80 ball, which is really handy. And it's not a very busy reticle, which I do like on the Elcan.
Yeah.
I like my Scar. It's one of the most accurate 308s I own. I had a pair of Remington 700 factory 5Rs that I bought from Lipsy's back in the day. And they were great guns, but both of them being in 308, I did have both those bolt actions rebarreled to 6.5 Creedmoor. The folks at Helix 6 Precision did a great job rebarreling my Remington 700s. I decided to rebarrel both of those 6.5 Creedmoor and leave my Scar 17 in 308 just because it's such a great platform. It's so accurate. It's such a great rifle. You get that hard-hitting power of the 30 cal. That particular gun can double as a hunting rifle, and I can take a wide variety of different game with my Scar if I need to. And then obviously if I need to stretch the legs on 5.56 and have a little more standoff distance in a semi-auto auto-loading platform, it gives me the ability to transport the gun very easily because it's lightweight and everything like that. It's very accurate, even despite having a lighter barrel and everything like that. It'll stabilize a wide variety of different projectiles. The guns are fantastic, and I know a lot of people don't like the Scar 16 as much because of some of the barrel whip issues. Brandy has a Scar 16S. She likes it. But I think I have a 20S the 16S of Brandy's and a 17, and I think the 17's my favorite Scar. Now, short of like running I think they have a 12.5-inch barrel for the Scar Heavy. I've never shot the short barrel version, but I think that would be cool to have, although I wouldn't want to lose the velocity. I feel like the M80 really needs that, decent velocity.
Yeah.
But they're great guns, and I know people talk smack about them, but the Scar 17 is a fantastic rifle, and that'd be on my list for sure.
I mean, you almost have to have that extra barrel or run a can. Otherwise, you're going to have so much flash come out of the front of that barrel that it's almost pointless to use it. It's like
dragon's breath.
Dragon's breath just coming out of the front of that thing, man.
That's right.
You know, I think that was a wise decision keeping that as a 30 cal and not rebarrel, because I know you mentioned you were going to send it off to get rebarreled, and part of me was like, it runs so good right now, and it does everything that you want it to do in its current configuration.
Well, I'm still going to have the 20S rebarreled to 6.5.
Right, but the 17.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
no way. I'm leaving that thing alone.
Because Tim has had quite a few issues with his in 6.5, and I was just like, every time I saw that and then I saw you, I was like, oh.
Well, there's a group of guys that are doing rebarreling services on the Scars and everything. You have to send your gun in and have it rebarreled by their gunsmiths there. I've been reaching out to them. I haven't heard anything back from them, but I was inquiring about if their barrels, being aftermarket barrels for the Scar 20S, if they were experiencing the same type of issues that Tim was having with the factory 6.5 Creedmoor 20S's blowing primers, if that's a widespread problem that everybody's having, or if it's just an extremely isolated incident. To be fair, Tim breaks everything he touches. So it's no surprise that he's having issues. It's like we're all wondering, like looking at the freak show thinking, like, all right, what's the issue that Tim is going to have with the gun now? And I swear, it's not by design. The guy just, he breaks everything he touches, it seems like. It's just the Marine Corps in him. Like, I don't know. Maybe they need to send him one that's been Cerakoted in, like, Crayola red or something. Or maybe, like, they need to send a roll of duct tape with every rifle they send him. I don't know. I have no idea. But
some people
I'm
just
going to
break
have
stuff.
a chat with Tim about that. And eventually, I guess the guys have just been busy, but I'd like to know if the aftermarket barrels that you're putting in these 20S's also exhibit the same primer blowing phenomenon that the factory 6.5s are doing. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, to stay on the theme of 30 cal, I have this obsession.
And this is number 5.
This is number 5. I have this obsession with DSA arms, like SA-58.
Ooh. Going with the granddaddy of the Scar.
Dude, you don't understand. Like, I haven't committed to buying one, but I'm going to eventually. And it's just.
Have you ever seen that Rhino poaching model they have?
No.
The one that they send the South Americans use?
Yeah. Oh, yes. It looks like the old school one.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking? Yeah, man.
It's such a cool rifle, man.
It's like that. It's like it almost reminds me of like a Brownell's Retro reissue, but it's like the original like FAL.
Some anti-poaching team that uses those guns when they're out on patrol and stuff.
And
cool.
I love this gun. I love what it's. I love the fact that like it's stood the test of time, and nobody is gonna say that's the most accurate gun. And the weird thing is, it's okay because people accept it. They understand it for what it is. It's an FAL, the right hand of the free world.
It's true.
And it's battle proven. It comes from the factory with an adjustable gas block. I mean, you can adjust it yourself depending on what ammo you're running. If you're running it suppressed, if you haven't cleaned it and you need more pressure, you can do that. It's just an all around, like, when you think of the quintessential battle rifle, that's what it is. And then you can get it in different configurations. You can get it in a para model. You can get it in a long boy where you can reach out and touch somebody. The SA-58 is basically their modernized version, so it has all the pick rail and all that good stuff on it. I mean, it's one of my favorite battle rifles, and if I was going to have a top 5, that most definitely would be in it.
They're solid guns, man.
Oh yeah,
and it's the type of rifle that you can bash something with and like really be rugged with it, and you don't have to worry about hurting it because it ain't a toy. I mean, it's like this ain't no little kid's gun.
Yeah, and if you're out of ammo, you can always beat someone to death with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use it like a sledgehammer because it definitely is meant to be used. And I mean, it's a minute of man gun. No one, it's not, a sub-minute gun. No one's claiming for it.
It ain't hiding it either. It's just that's what it does.
All you need to do is be able to reach out and touch somebody and do it well and reliably.
All right, number 5, JC.
Number 5, which is like really like my number 1, if I could actually have one and actually get my hands on one, would be a Bulgarian SAM-7 AK-47.
Ooh. An AK man, I see.
Yeah, for sure. That should have actually been my first choice, like, to be honest. But if the reliability of them, what you get for your money as far as AK builds just in general, that would have to be it.
Right on.
And
man.
as a big AK fan, I don't post AK stuff enough or do enough AK stuff to show as much of a fan of them as I am. I have like 6 of them, and I hardly ever do anything with them other than shoot them and not record it just for fun. If I could trade all of them in for one, that would be the one that I would take for sure.
Nice, man.
To be honest, AKs, if we're really being truthful, I mean, AKs aren't cheap, man. A good quality AK is going to cost some money, and compared to like a decent AR, when you get into like similar money, you start to get a bit of a series of diminishing returns because I mean, like $800 or $1,000 will buy one heck of an AR for that type of money, especially at the entry level type price point.
Yeah.
But when you're getting into some of the, it's like the arsenals, you're talking $1,800-$1,900, and you're talking double the money.
You get into some Zastavas.
I would have to say that's okay. So that was what I was about to say. My Zastava, I've got a ZPAP. And that is one of my absolutes, the cherry wood.
I've seen it.
Oh, dude, I love that gun so much. Now that is one that I put right up there with it. I mean, you
It's
can't
a sweet gun,
beat it
man.
with a stick, man. Like you're not gonna miss with it unless you're just absolutely incapable of shooting.
The M70 is a
And it's a sledgehammer,
sweet gun,
too.
man.
You can
They
totally
really are
use
nice.
it and just they're very rugged. Like goes into everything that we were saying earlier with super ruggedness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you could use it as a bludgeon if you needed to.
Secondary,
Yeah. You run out of ammo, you're good. You're good.
Well,
Get
I
rid
hate
of
to tell
Yuri. Yuri
people,
has more.
but an AK is not in my top 5. Look, I do love the AK-74. We're going to talk about that last, though. Okay.
You're a man of
so
tastes.
number 5, Barrett M107A1. I'm not giving up my Barrett, dang it.
No, it's right there in the corner.
Yeah, it's right there. that
Hey,
girl
baby.
can just hang out right over there all she wants. But look, that's the thing. I love the Barrett M107. I think it's a fantastic gun. And there's a lot of rifles that are more accurate. There's plenty of options out there that can probably do a better job at longer range and everything, but fewer have the firepower of the Barrett. And I mean, for an out-of-the-box rifle that you can put an optic on and take to the range in 0 and have fun and shoot, it's probably the most bang for the buck you're going to get for an average person just walking into an average gun store. Well, an average gun store wouldn't have an M107 around, but some of them do, right? Like down here in South Georgia, when we're passing through to the farm to go hunting and stuff, we'll pass by Barrow's Automotive down there. And big shout out to Bo Barrow and the family down there. They're really cool people. And he's always got a Barrett floating around in that place, man. And
That's
you walk in, it's like
hilarious.
there's a 50 cal on the counter. How can you not want to play with one?
in a Napa store.
Yeah, and
In an Apple store. Oh.
I've had my
great.
Barrett M107
America.
now. I've had my 107 probably 7 years. I love it. It's such a great piece of gear. I went up to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I visited the Barrett store there. They got like a little gun shop where they sell obviously all of their guns as well as other firearms. They got a little gun shop right there by the factory. And I bought some spare magazines from Chris Barrett. He was there and he
that's
rang me up.
cool.
I thought that was cool. So I got me
That
some
is
extra, got me some extra magazines for my Barrett M107, and Chris was there. It was cool. They're all nice people. I love Ronnie Barrett. Love the Barrett family. They're awesome people, and they make one heck of a gun. I really love the 107. It's a lot of firepower. In case you don't know, 50 caliber, semi-automatic. I mean, it's an awesome piece of gear, and I could never imagine not owning a Barrett M107. It's like one of my favorite rifles. I mean, it's just it's large and in charge, baby.
Shooting it was so much fun. That exact one that's over there in the corner, that exact one, I had so much fun shooting. So yes,
Well,
yeah.
just
It was an
coming from say like a utility aspect, you have so many different choices of rounds that are utilitarian. I mean, you have straight ball rounds, you have A-pit rounds, you have API rounds, you have Ralphus rounds, you have, there's one that has like a HE in the front tip. I mean, they like penetrate, and then like, I mean, all kinds of stuff.
That's the Ralphus. The
Okay,
Ralphus
yeah,
rounds have
Ralphus.
RDX in them.
Yeah, they.
Those are loaded by, if I'm not mistaken, I think those are loaded by Bofors. They actually make that Ralphus ammunition for the U.S. military.
You got slaps, the infamous slaps that, you know, I mean, all kinds of cool stuff. But that's because that round is so big, you have enough real estate to put all of this cool stuff in there. You just can't do that with smaller rounds. There's not enough real estate to do it.
I mean, 50 cal may not be practical for a lot of
it's very
situations, but it will solve any situation. That's the thing.
yeah.
So, like, if you just need it to stop whatever it's doing, no matter what it is, it will do that job quite well.
Yeah, you're slinging a mini torpedo out of that.
You really
thing
are,
every
man.
time.
You really are.
Single wide trailer coming out of the barrel.
All right, so now we're going to get into the wild card. So this is this is basically just a wild card slot. You get to pick a number 6, and we always throw a 6 gun in here. And I would say this one can be something. It can be anything you want.
I know what mine is.
You go ahead and get us started. So what's your wild card, man?
All right, so like all my guns have been kind of like intermediate to close up. Like, you know, that's where you're doing the work. This one is probably the most well-known ultra ELR rifle.
Chi-Tac.
Yes.
Intervention.
That's right.
M200.
Boy. That 408 Chi-Tac will put in the work at like 2 miles away, man. That thing is transonic at a mile. I mean, it's still hauling butt.
That's impressive.
It's a sweet rifle.
And if you do your part, it's probably the most accurate rifle you're going to find at range.
Okay.
I mean, it's like probably probably like $16 a shot or something like that, because it's milled from one single piece. It's just like
that 408 is transonic. I think like 2,800 yards. It's like
it's ridiculous.
It's still breaking the sound barrier at well over 2,800 yards.
Yep. I mean, it's
pretty crazy.
It's nothing for that thing to reach out and touch somebody at 1.5 miles, man. Just boop.
Easily 2 miles.
Yeah.
Me? Like, it's such a crazy rifle. You know, and Desert Tech with their HTI bullpup, which has always traditionally been a 50 BMG, I believe they do a 408 Chi-Tac barrel for that bullpup as well. So there's an option to have a bullpup. Now, I don't know how accurate the Desert Techs are compared to the actual Chi-Tac Intervention, because I can't imagine their rifle not being the best platform for launching that cartridge, since it's their cartridge. And it's their baby. And with all the military contracts for the Intervention, there's certainly been a lot of those used in various theaters. So that's a great choice, man.
Yeah. And you guys,
408 is a monster round.
And they have a smaller round too. I mean, for those that don't want to step up to the 408, I think it's a 375.
Yeah. Which is still a steamer.
It's still gonna. I mean, it's no slouch by any means. But
right.
if you guys aren't familiar with it, go check out the movie Shooter, the infamous. What's his name? Something. Not the movie. They call him something. The Shooter. Whatever. Go watch the movie Shooter. You'll see it.
Or Swagger, I think was his name.
Bob Swagger.
Bob Lee Swagger.
Right on the tip
Swagger.
of my tongue, man. And you can order that from Chi-Tac.
And one day I'm going to be the old man, and they're like, well, you know.
No, that dude would crack me up, man. Let me tell you about JFK.
Let me just talk about that.
But yeah, if you call Chi-Tac, you can order. It's called the Bob Lee Swagger Intervention, and they'll give you they'll give you the same one, paint scheme, like camo, everything.
It can be yours.
Yes, for the low price of like a bajillion dollars. Yeah, of a mortgage on your house.
They're probably 20 grand.
Yeah, easily
Or more.
with the optic.
But they're nice. But you won't find a finer rifle that'll do anything you want it to do. It's any shot you want, it'll make it.
And that was my wild card. And
that's what a wild card, buddy.
What a wild card it was.
What's your wild card, JC?
My wild card be the Ma Deuce.
Oh, that's another.
You're
good
gonna one up me.
A mounted 50 caliber machine gun. If I could have anything out there, and that's the one thing that I'm still jealous of you on at the first range day that I ever attended. You went over there and just and then I'm like over here like scratching my head like, man, I didn't even get to shoot that thing yet. And now nobody's gonna get to shoot it again for the whole time, and that's exactly
Don't
what
mind
happened.
if I do.
So I didn't get to shoot
mean-
it, so I still have not shot one.
So sorry.
So anybody out there that's ever at a range day, that's got a mountable Ma Deuce, bring one out. They got one at Moss now.
They didn't tell me
actually.
to stop. I mean, there was a belt attached to that gun, and nobody gave me the signal to stop, so we just let it rip.
I don't know if they got his, but they have one over there. at Moss now.
Son.
They've got one of the smaller ones and the big one.
Oof.
You don't play around with the Ma Deuce, man.
No, sir.
The one thing that the Ma Deuce does not take prisoners. That gun is
So
a
since we're being
fantastic
ridiculous,
machine gun.
that's my ridiculous one.
I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
So for my number 6, I'm torn between two. So I'm going to mention both of them just as honorable mentions because we do have a short time here at the end that we'll have some honorable mentions that couldn't make it into the list, just so we can clear those up and everything. So I love black powder. I can't imagine not having a black powder rifle in the lineup. I have to have at least one black powder rifle, even if I could only have 5 or 6, right, in this case, in this fantasy case. My Norwegian Kammerlader.
I knew it. I was going to say Kammerlader.
I love my Norwegian Kammerlader. You know, Mark Novak over there at Anvil Gunsmithing did a wonderful job of restoring that particular gun. And
beautiful.
If anybody needs work on their antique and vintage firearms, you will not find someone who's more well qualified to work on them than Mark Novak. So check him out at Anvil Gunsmithing. But
be prepared to
all
wait.
that beside,
Be prepared to wait. Yeah.
I mean, look, I love my
For good
Kammerlader.
reason.
And then my other choice, if I was torn between the two, would be an air rifle. Believe it or not. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I like the Air Force
that's
Texan.
solid.
Yeah.
That's
I'm a
solid.
big fan of the Air Force Texan. I like big bore air rifles. You know, they have their 50 caliber Texan.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I'd be torn between a black powder rifle and an air rifle as my wild card.
Okay.
I mean,
Preferably both.
it
but-
makes the
Well,
air
yeah.
from a
perfect
sustainability
world.
point of view. The air rifle definitely makes more sense because you have your scuba tank refiller, and you basically can just keep refilling your tank.
You can make your own black powder too.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there's that option.
But you can cast your own ammunition for
both.
Yeah,
For
for
both,
both. But
yeah.
then that scuba tank, you just fill it. Boom, take it out, and you need more, just fill it back up. I like it. I like it, man.
The
That's
cool
a good
thing about
choice.
the Texan is, as the SS model I have is an integral suppressed Texan, which is cool. So 50 caliber round, big hunking piece of lead, it's integral suppressed. So that I can do all types of things from marksmanship training to shooting for fun to recreation as well as hunting. I mean, it will kill big game. So you're talking an air rifle that can shoot, I'd take a black bear with one, no problem.
It's still
Would not
it's still
hesitate to
50.
shoot a black
Yeah.
bear with my Texan.
I mean, people hear air rifle and they don't realize you're still slinging a 50 caliber round downrange. Now, it might not be moving at the same speed. It's still transonic, though. I mean, it's still hauling, and it's quiet. I've been there. We were down at the farm, and you were like test firing it at the D28, and it was like a 50 cal round that was like you couldn't even hear it. It was like, I mean, you could hear. Let's be honest, you could hear it, but it wasn't like
it's heavy and slow, but it smacks with a lot of energy. So if you have a real heavy projectile, you don't have to get it moving really fast for it to have a ton of energy. So that's how you can get away with a 500 grain bullet only moving maybe 1,000 feet per second, 900 feet per second. It doesn't have to be moving fast because that energy translation. Now, where it does get interesting is where you start getting something really heavy moving really fast. Now you're talking. Or if you get something that's really light moving ultra wicked dumb fast, that's where you shoot through body armor and shoot through structures.
that's where you
and
get into
things.
the
So-
5.7s and stuff like
Yep.
that.
yeah, I mean, so it just all comes down to intended purpose and use. I mean, my choices were very well rounded that could still allow me to fulfill a wide variety of different purposes and tasks with the shotgun, the rifles and pistols and shotguns that I chose. I would actually venture to say that I would almost trade in my FNSLP for either the Mossy, like a 590A1, or a good Marine Magnum 870 or something. Because the pump action
Now that you
probably
think
a
about
more
it.
now that I think about it, it's probably a more practical gun. So that's one area I might have changed my mind even over the course of this podcast, was just your choice. Really, a pump gun would be more practical than a semi. Although I will say I do love my FNSLP. So after hindsight of all of this, have you changed your mind on anything, or you feel pretty solid about your choices?
I'm pretty solid. I mean, I
solid.
should have included a shotgun, but I think with what I chose, I can pretty much fulfill the same.
You can find a shotgun.
Can,
Oh, yeah.
A handgun can do what a shotgun may
Yeah,
need
I
to do.
mean, honestly, you could probably reach out and touch somebody more with like a 357 Magnum than you could say a 12 gauge double-aught buck. Now, does it have the same effect when it hits somebody? Probably not. But
You ain't got that Berniki black
Yeah, I
magic.
don't got that black
1
magic.
3/8 ounce bear
Them
slug,
things
boy.
shabow.
bears on the box.
I mean, does your 357 Magnum ammo have a bear on the box, Matt?
Them
No,
things will go
I don't
clean
think
through
so.
a car.
Nope.
I bet it's got a mouse on the box.
Yep. And it's got a chameleon paint job on it. Looks cool. How about that?
It's true, man. So what about you? Would you change anything
No.
in retrospect?
No, I wouldn't. Other than maybe
Any honorable mentions?
a crossbow, a solid crossbow.
There you go.
Or
you-
any type of bow. Period. Yeah.
You could do the air bow.
Yeah, FX has their Crown Arrow launcher. We just got off of a long shoot down in South Georgia, and we were like sneaking up on hogs with thermals at like 30, 40 yards away and
That's
shooting with
dangerous,
this.
man.
Well, the
with
crossbow,
this
we're getting
air
more
bow.
into
Pretty crazy.
apocalyptic territory, you know.
Yeah.
So we're talking about top 5. I was leaning more towards like top 5 that I would want for survival this whole conversation, but at the same time, I was trying to remind myself like just top 5 that I prefer and like because.
I kind of went into it with the survival aspect.
I was
mean,
thinking about that because I think it's hard to ask a gun owner what 5 guns you want without us automatically thinking, well, the only way that I'm only going to have 5 guns is if it's survival type situation.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of like, I did kind of default to that.
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
is. It's like, well, if I have to choose 5 that I can carry.
You know, that's a great point because I feel like I kind of went into the same type of instinct for me as well. I'm like, okay,
It's just natural.
Yeah, what firearms am I going to be able to use if I can only have 5?
What you can utilize the
You
best.
have to choose stuff that's useful.
Yes.
You can't just have some novelty gun that doesn't serve a purpose. You can't
No.
have
sure
a
you
gun
can.
that's not practical.
Chiappa Rhino.
Right, but you have to kind of be smart about what you're dealing with in terms of what you're going to choose because if you can only have 5, they got to be 5 that are going to be what you need.
Yeah, I
to
mean, I
serve
said
your
my
needs.
Gucci Glock, which is super
Yeah.
fancy, but I
But-
mean, I know it's effective.
But I'm pretty
But it's
sure.
practical
I'm
and you
pretty
like
sure
it.
It
that
actually
works.
is very practical.
I'm pretty
and
sure that's
it's
going to
very tough.
outperform the Chiappa
It would.
Rhino.
Yeah, it would.
For sure.
It would in a heartbeat.
sure.
For sure.
I just like it. I like what
They're
I like,
sick.
and you can't.
I regret
change
not
my
buying
mind.
the exact one that you're talking
Oh,
about.
trust me, me too.
All right, I'll tell you
Limited
what.
edition.
You guys go in the comment section down below and you give me a list, okay, of your top 5 favorites if you can only have 5, and go ahead and choose a wild card and give me a brief description of why you chose what you chose, all right? And what we'll do later, give us a few months for this post to sort of marinate a little bit, if you will. Give it some time, and we'll do a revisit, and we'll talk about your top 5, and we're going to critique your list in a future, podcast. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Go over to Ballistic Ink and pick yourself up a snazzy new T-shirt. That's one way you can support our efforts and help us out here with LLP. I hope everyone has a great week, and this has been an awesome conversation. Believe me, this conversation could easily go 30 more minutes. Easily, yeah, or hours, right?
We can talk about this all day.
You get on this subject matter, it can go down the rabbit hole, but I hope that this provided a kind of a glimpse into what gun people choose in terms of their favorite choices. So keep that in mind. Maybe some of you are thinking of some cool stuff to pick up yourself for whatever reason. So those are our top 5. If we can only have 5, now we know we can have way more than 5.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Quite clearly, but
Yeah.
it's still an interesting talking point because it kind of forces you into a corner of going, all right, well, what would be my practical choice? And I think we all have some pretty good choices.
Well, I mean, you get to see a little bit of your personality in it as well.
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Many more on the way. Make sure you go over to all the various podcast servers, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, everything where we're posted, and leave us a good comment so we show up higher in the algorithm. If you're following us here on YouTube, make sure that you click that notification bell, click subscribe, make sure you get all of our content. So thanks very much. Many more on the way. We'll see you soon. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Take it easy, folks.
Thanks for listening to Life, Liberty, and Pursuit. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate that. You can support us over on Ballistic Ink by picking yourself up some merch. And remember, guys, danger is freedom. Have a good one.